there are people that live up to the stereotype in the community,
exactly.
but there are people that buck the stereotype and the trend in the community as well. And I think that's what that we're trying to focus on here in this documentary, that the stereotypes are not necessarily true, that there are a good portion of the community, of the African-centered communities that shop organic, that shop for fresh foods, and even though some may not live a vegetarian lifestyle, they're probably living a much cleaner lifestyle than the media would portray in terms of the fried chicken, the French fries, the fast food, so on and so forth.
Stereotypes originate from? Who comes up with these stereotypes? And then you have to ask yourself deep down inside, are you perpetuating those stereotypes? When I get hungry, do I want to go to Kennedy's Fried Chicken? Do I want to go to Popeyes or White Castle or whatever? So a stereotype is only, I call a stereotype half truth.
A vegetarian lifestyle, you know what I'm saying, and veganism is the extremes of that, you know what I'm saying. Veganism is a lifestyle that's inclusive of no intake of any animal products, whereas a vegan may eat may eat eggs or butter and things of that particular nature.
1994 is when I started my journey as a vegetarian, and I was still eating. They call it the ones that eat the fish still, but limit other meats. So I was still maybe doing a little fish, a little chicken.
Defiance to my coach when I was playing football, University of Tennessee. He didn't want me eating beef burgers. Told me burgers would stay in your system for over 72 hours. So I decided not to eat no meat at all as a punishment to him. Just I was young and dumb at the time, but I made a great decision in the long run.
Just one day thought, like, well, what's the purpose of eating? You know, why am I eating this? Why am I eating this bread? You know, why am I eating this beef? Why am I eating this chicken? Is this the proper way to nourish myself? So once I just thought, like, well, what is the proper way for me to nourish myself? I began to do research, and then I found out that certain choices I was making really weren't for the purpose of, really wasn't beneficial. So just, and also, I feel better not eating meat. I just feel better.
My first tweak, if you will, of my dietary habits was urged by a book. I'm 57, so I go back to a book called How to Eat to Live, Message to the Black Man. I decided at the age of 12 to stop eating pork and just try to clean up my diet. And that triggered a lot of stuff throughout the rest of my life as I went on and moved to different cities, whatever. But to make a long story short, the main thing that sparked it, my dad died when I was 19 and he was 58. I'm 57 right now, and I guarantee you I will still be alive. That really did change my lifestyle when my dad left so early. And through the years, I have continuously tweaked my diet. So then, I was introduced by my adopted stepfather, if you will, by the name of Ilambe Brath. Oh, I miss Baba Ilambe. Anyway, rummaging through his house, because I was part of the family of the Brathways, and there was a VHS. It's called The African Connection. Me being a percussionist and playing drums all my life and being in the African diaspora and having that much respect, I was gravitated to that, and I took it home and I watched it. Well, I was introduced in 1987 to this brother called Dr. Sabi. Woo, boy, the African Connection. He changed my life for real. And I decided that I was really, really on the cusp of something that was so beautiful.
Well, I was watching my area, because I was raised in Red Hook in Brooklyn, and I noticed that from young, watching how people body would develop as they got older, and I watched what they ate. And you know, they always say, oh, it's good food for the soul. But at the end of the day, it was actually looking like it was killing them, because they would end up with canes and arthritis and all these different things, like ailments that would attack their bodies because of what they're eating. Because you and I both know, when you eat the flesh, you're eating the blood of that animal. And the way that they take care of these animals is inhumane. And if them animals have any kind of diseases or any kind of problems in their body, that becomes our problem, because we're digesting what's in there, what's in that animal.
I've been vegan of sorts since August of 2013. I did it principally because I lost my aunt on her 65th birthday, August 16th. And I also knew from my studies from reading Dr. Malia Africa that Africans didn't eat meat until we were interrupted. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody broke in the crib and stole all the vegetables and shit, so you got to eat what you can find. But in terms of my diet, I knew eating meat was problematic. I knew drinking dairy was problematic. Then I started studying Dr. Sebi, and then just started fasting. And I noticed the change in my body. No longer get sick, no longer get colds. I used to have allergies very bad. I used to take Zyrtec every spring. Now I don't have any allergies at all.
On my path to becoming a vegetarian vegan about 10 years ago. It wasn't deliberate. It's quite accidental. I started getting adversely sick from consuming dairy. And as I gave that up and started to feel better and make some other changes in my life, I realized, like, wow, I wish someone had told me this a lot sooner. But as is life. So originally I didn't give up meat. I first started stop whole milk, and then cut back on dairy products, eggs, started having more fresh fruit and vegetables, started reducing my meat intake, eventually gave that up completely, and then after about 5 years, eventually gave up all the dairy along with no meat.
I was introduced to this lifestyle by way of my mother. My mother grabbed us up and took us to St. Croix. She was pregnant with my youngest brother, KT the arts degree, and she wanted to get out of New York City. It was being ravaged at that time by crack cocaine. So we went to St. Croix, and because my mother had a degenerative blood issue at the time of her pregnancy, she had to seek out some sort of help, and she didn't want to go to the hospital. She went to a herbal doctor, you know what I'm saying, what they call a roots doctor. And a friend of her took her into the rainforest of St. Croix, and that's where she met a man named Dr. Sebi. And thus the journey towards health and healing began.
Every day could be completely different for a vegetarian or a vegan. Typically, when I get up in the morning, it starts off with water. That's the most important thing you could ever put in your body. Typically, I squeeze some fresh lemon juice in it, and usually also add a supplement called spirulina, which is algae to my water. Has almost all the vitamins. It's like a multivitamin. It has all the vitamins and minerals that your body needs. So that's typically how I start my day off.
Well, anything that has a seed is a fruit. So technically a human being is a fruitarian. Before he started messing up the air and, the earth in general.
Saying people who just want to give up the meat or become vegetarian, I think it depends on a person's will and how strong they are mentally. Because it is a sacrifice, especially if you've been eating meat or you've been having a certain type of diet all your life. Because the moment you cut certain things out, your body's going to react and want you to overdo something else. Like you may cut out meat, next thing you know, you're doing a lot of things that's sugary, certain substitutions because your body wanting that fried food or whatever you start to neglect from it.
Green juice, so this one was kind of like interesting. I had cabbage and apples and lemon juice. That's what I had today so far. And what else did I have? That was all I had, and it's sort of like 1 o'clock. And then I might get a soup or something. Live foods, raw foods, but I eat a little bit of cooked food because she be open. You never know what's gonna happen. You might have to eat some cooked food one day, and if your body's only used to live food, raw food, you're gonna bring your body into shock. So you have to be prepared. I mean, and just you never know where you're gonna be. It might not be accessible the way you want it.
Who advocated carrots and garlic and things of that nature. Broccoli, Sebi was for none of that. He said that all of those things were hybrids, you know what I'm saying, and they were all mucus forming. So his approach towards healing dealt with electric foods, all right, and not dealing with plants that are hybrids because they're going to create, issues in your body as well.
It's a lot of vegetables. So many your tape reel may go out from
Give me your top 3.
Beans. You can do certain forms of veggie proteins, meaning like soy products. You can do certain vegetables. Certain vegetables have a lot of amounts of protein.
Above and beyond meat was one thing that was considered acidic, but on top of that, you can't just be a vegetarian and vegan and eat a lot of bread and carbohydrates. There's a lot of vegans and vegetarians out there that don't eat right. They eat a lot of breads and starches, and they eat less fruits and vegetables.
Based off of a lot of things that you eat, it makes sense how certain things isn't as conducive as they say it is. There's other ways of getting protein other than red meat. How long it takes certain things to break down in your intestines, especially if you're not doing the right cleansing, and things of that nature.
I'm looking at my products. This is a raw, organic cucumber ginger splash drink that my company makes. And the ingredients are purified water, raw ginger, organic cucumber, organic raw agave, vitamin C is the source of organic lemon, that's the organic C, and it's made by raw vegans and healthy vegans, if you will, with love. And we have a raw oatmeal vegan raisin cookie now, and the ingredients that's the raw cookie, and the ingredients are on the back, and there is organic raw oats. There's raw walnuts, raw dates, organic raisins, raw of course, and organic raw coconut, vanilla, cinnamon, and Himalayan salt.
Of course, love.
And definitely love, vegan love. And this is a chocolate. Oh, we have to eat this quick because it's melting in the sun. This is a raw vegan, raw almond butter chocolate butter cup with raw almond butter butter cup with dark chocolate and dehydrated organic strawberries and dehydrated kiwi. You gotta taste this, bro.
I think I'm gonna have to eat this, people, right on camera.
Yeah, you gotta just take a bite. Take that bite, and I'll take the other half.
Okay, take that bite. Delicious. No much bad.
Hey, sorry, the cookie's melting. We have to eat this. This is on set. Want the rest?
Yeah.
Done deal.
Done. Excellent. Raw and vegan. So,
I ain't gonna lie.
You're a bad man.
I love my fries.
With African American people, the thought is that we're not vegetarians. The thought is, that's something that white people do.
The diet isn't as balanced as it should be. A lot of fast foods, a lot of greasy, fried foods. You definitely need to clean it up a little bit.
Back to it. Veganism is important for us because we're getting killed on so many fronts. Whether it be us killing each other, violent-wise. Dr. Sebi blames that on our nutrition. Besides the fact of our Holocaust, our myopathy. things on the nutrition because it says put mucus on the brain. These things we put in our body are making us act a certain way.
The residue of the so-called building of the New World and the manpower that it was used, the Africans and the Native Americans and the South Americans to build and do all the work, you know, slaves or whatever, sharecroppers, they did all the work. And that food was considered subsistence, but it was actually just slave scraps. What was left over from the slave masters, the enslavers left over the scraps. And that food became a so-called delicacy and became part of black and brown and Spanish people's culture. And it's basically just, they call it slave food. It's really slave food, the residue of slavery.
But then, of course, in the American African community, a lot of us eat trash because it's part of our culture, and there are different types of cultures, and one of them is a survival culture. And we're trying to survive, so we're eating whatever that's available, and that's why we're dying at alarming rates. Black men make up 4% of the United States population, but about 86% of all of the prostate cancer patients. Black women, 6% of the U.S. population, 93 or 96% of all the fibroid tumor cases. And it's all based on our diet. We're out of balance. We got to get back there. And
we need to be mindful of what we're inputting in the system. So if we go around eating a bunch of garbage, we'll start performing as such. Don't eat anything from out of McDonald's or Burger King because the fast food chain, it helps our children to come out here and act like they don't have
there's a system
when I was putting that blood in my mouth, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I was those were the years of my life that, you know, we were out in the street taking blood. You know what I'm saying? That's the years in my life that, you know, we were excited about being animalistic. You know what I'm saying? Savagery was a lifestyle.
Really just being honest with myself and just eating certain foods and realizing that, I don't really digest this well. You know, perhaps maybe I'm lactose intolerant. Generally, people of African descent are lactose intolerant that, you know, live here in this part of the world.
I do a joke on my comedy DVD and album called The Ethiopian Clown about the dangers of milk.
Their parents are so busy giving them money to get fast food, they're not cooking home-cooked meals anymore. They're going to, you know, when we live in a city where we are, you know, subject to gentrification and we have a lot of not so much positive choices to choose from as far as like, you know, you have your Burger King, you have your McDonald's, you have your KFC, you have all these fast food chains. The children go in there and they buy that food and they're full. Or in the school systems, you see how they feed our children in their machines. If they're not monitored with what they have in those machines, those children are eating a lot of junk food. Now, if you constantly continue to give yourself a lot of sugar or a lot of, let's say, like milk, this is unhealthy because of the way they take care of the cows. The cows are being injected with LGBT, growth hormone. This is what's wrong with society today, today's children, today's teens.
Ask somebody what they ate today, or if I go to any fast food restaurant in the vicinity, it's going to be packed.
Being vegan, I have more energy, I feel more youthful. So I saw how that change in lifestyle was curing and healing people back to back to back to back. I was there physically to hear about all the stories, the people. I was able to see it myself, you know what I'm saying? Not more so just hear about what was being done. I would see the people come back changed, all right? So I incorporated it into my own life.
So that was my journey. I was determined to figure that out, and I finally figured it out. And I've been feeling good ever since. A lot more energy. I'm less drained, and the gland that's associated with the amylase body type is the thyroid. And one of the functions of thyroid is to help with metabolism. So my metabolism started to, go up and down, and then I started to have thyroid issues. And then I realized that it was all connected. At that point, I knew then that even as a vegan, I had to become even more stricter.
Having two babies that were born vegan, we haven't experienced any issues with respiratory issues,
ear infections. So it allows us to live life like how we want to live life, with energy, and we get to go and do what we want to do whenever we want to do it. Our health is not an impediment to doing the things we want to do. I used to drink milk like water, you know what I'm saying, and eating, butter on everything. You know what I'm saying? My stepmother used to make some of the best steaks, lamb chops, pork chops, all that. Stuff a lot. We was just, just beasting. And because I lived in both worlds, because I, put my body through both regimens, I know what the differences are. You know what I'm saying? I know the homeostasis that I was able to experience under one particular lifestyle and regimen versus the other. You know what I'm saying? When I got back into the meats and when I got back into the toxic foods and when I got back into the toxic living, I was pretty much, very animalistic. You know what I'm saying? I was a savage. I'm not sick like I used to be prior to becoming a vegan. Every year there was a cold or flu that I would have. That hasn't happened.
My baby, he's anemic, no longer anemic anymore. I started giving him Seppi's herbs, iron, and stuff like that. And I actually listened to his several of his lectures on just the different schools of medicine, from the Ayurvedic, the microbiotic, the yin yang, homeopathic and allopathic. And I saw the consistencies and the inconsistencies. And he said the basis of all disease is mucus.
Pretty strong. I'm 100% vegan, 100% soy free, and this food is so amazing. You gotta believe me that you can accomplish all the things you want to do by eating a nice, clean fruits, vegetables, nuts, and grain diet.
Because I haven't had red meat or pork for almost now 29 years.
Very long time.
Yes, and the outcome of not having the meat and, how can I say, that animal flesh in your body, you have more consciousness. You feel lighter. You have clarity. I feel healthier. My stamina is not, how can I say, it's not slow, it's kind of high.
We were selling ourselves out. You taking your kid to McDonald's and Burger King and Kentucky Fried and Popeyes. That's really child abuse because you're creating high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, and so many other ridiculous diseases that are totally food-borne illnesses that the biotech companies and these pharmaceutical companies feed off of. Believe me, they got a pill for every disease.
When it comes to health, is to think back about their great-grandmothers and great-grandfathers and how were they living. And some of the things that they were teaching them then doesn't make sense today. And in that manner, they can begin to reach towards a better lifestyle. But stress is the main thing that, one, they have to be willing to to decide what they want to do with that. What's happening in their lives is causing a lot of stress. On top of that, what are the emotions? The food industry know there's emotions attached to these types of foods. Anger is attached with salt. Sugar is attached with love. You know what I mean? Bready foods attached with insecurity, soothes insecurity and dissatisfaction. So we have to know that the food industry plays off of that. So they put two things in one, lots of salt, lots of sugar in one item. Because they know that
love and anger together.
Absolutely. The black community is dealing with a lot of anger problems, a lot of love issues. That means the abandonment of family, the separation of families that happened from slavery up until today. The African family was not about separating themselves until the slave system came into existence. And now what? Now a father's being sold off, a mother's being sold off, a child is being sold off. When that system occurred, it just trickled down into the generations after that. They'll say, slavery happened a long time ago, but we're still suffering from the post-traumas of that slave system.
Dr. Clark called us an urbanized rural people. So we used to live off of the land, and we're displaced, not just by virtue of slavery, but just by virtue of our migrating to the cities. And so when you look at the communities, the access to the type of food that we have is not even food. These are chemicals, they're dangerous, and that's why we're dying. That's why you got people walking around with birth defects. Like I met a guy the other day, he had one of them baby hands, grown man, 6 years old, we got a baby hand, you know the nub with the toes on it? I'm pretty sure his mama used to stand in front of the microwave when she was pregnant with him. You know, no, these are all jokes. But this is all, if you just look around the American African community, the type of things that are at our disposal, I think they're there on purpose. They're there to make us ready market and available market for the pharmaceutical companies. Like, if you know you're going to get easy, all these chemicals and all these carbohydrates, you know at a certain time, a certain juncture in their life, that they're eventually going to take this medication in order to stay alive if they don't know any better. Which knowing better is to stop eating those things that put in the body.
So if we're constantly dumping in acidic, dead animal flesh and parasites in this, parasites are eating up our enzymes and eating away a lot of the nutrients in our bodies, we don't even recognize that sometimes these chemical foods, what we call drugs masquerading as foods, right? That these foods are killing us.
This food has crept all the way into every facet of life, be it white society, black society. If you go into the Midwest, you'll see white people the size of cows. You know, big people, not just white people, everybody just huge. And you know, this what I really was trying to say is there's no longer discrimination when it comes to, you know, capitalism. They discriminate anywhere and everybody, black, white, orange, and green. If you're willing to eat that crap, they're willing to sell it to you.
And it's not really food, so it doesn't allow us to thrive as much as we could.
I know the communities that we live in. I know that these are the dumping grounds already for the most disastrous of foods. Now to top it off, you know what I mean, with all of this food being radiated, I know where the food is going. I went out west. I know what my people is into out west. I know how they line up for seafood. I know all of that seafood is radiated. You know what I'm saying? I know that they're going to give them the bottom of the barrel.
These are some of the statistics that just compound the necessity to change our ways as a people on this planet, or we're just adding salt to an injury, so to a wound. It takes for carnivores to support a carnivore's diet, a meat eater's diet. You're talking 10,000 to 12,000 gallons of fresh water is utilized, basically destroyed, to sustain a carnivore's diet. Meaning, if you like to eat chicken and fish and all that other stuff, it takes 10,000 gallons of water per week. To sustain a vegan diet, it takes 300 gallons, 350 tops, gallons of water per week to sustain a vegan diet. So we're talking billions of people on the planet, and we have a whole bunch of countries, a few countries that are really stuck on this carnivore diet. That means they're doing 8,000 times the amount, 7,000 times the amount of water consumption that's really necessary. So we got to look at that, and maybe we'll charge carnivores much more to use water, fresh water, because the water supply on this earth is slowly evaporating. It's the least of everything. The most spoiled food, the most rotten food was given to those people, and by love and intervention, they created, something that was actually tolerable and, edible. They call it, love food. But love can't always, remove all the poison and the hate that was created by those diets. So we have to retrain ourselves. And even if we're beyond the slave foods.
I got very sick. I had a undiagnosable blood disease. They was like, yo, your blood is just so toxic. The doctors was like, we don't even know what to do with it. You know what I'm saying? So I had to crawl back on my knees and go to mommy. You know what I'm saying? And, she was waiting on me. You know what I mean? She knew that I would be coming back. And she knew that I was out of my goddamn mind. You feel me? On the lifestyle that I was currently involved in and what I was doing. So she told me, she's like, look, you got to sacrifice. I'm not going to waste any time with you if you're not willing to make a sacrifice. 90 days to 6 months, you got to exclude all meat from your diet. I was like, what? It just sounded like a lifetime. You don't have no, I'm used to allopathic. Like, your shit ain't like this. You know what I'm saying? And she's like, nah, you have to discipline yourself and you have to return to this lifestyle and it can't be no meats in your diets. And if you're not willing to do this, I'm not willing to help you. So I needed to help. I had to get with the program. I got back into a green, plant-based diet and I never looked back. You know what I'm saying? By the time the 6 months came, I didn't even realize that I was already on my way because there was nothing in me that made me want to go back to the eating of meats. You know what I'm saying? And I do think, just to be honest with the people, during that first 90 days, there was an issue. I was wrestling, with the addiction.
For us to change everything we do, we need to do a complete 180. We got to get back in touch with the ancient us.
What would be a message to an average brother or sister on the street that's trying to change their diet around, for life, health, prosperity? What would your message be to them?
Research everything. If you research social media for certain things, you depend on certain outlets to keep you up to date. Look for certain outlets also to help you have a productive diet.
So we have to get to a point where we have to decide, do we want to give up these foods that we call traditional foods, or these foods that we love so much, even though it's killing us, or do we want to get to the point where we face the facts, that these are things that are harming us more than it is helping us? Do we want to love ourselves? This is what it's about, that emotion called love and understanding what that emotion means. If you don't love yourself, you can't love nobody else. So what happens? You start to destroy yourself. Little by little, it's a slow suicide, especially when you're aware of it. And that's the whole thing, is to become aware of what's happening, aware of how these emotions are attached to what we're eating, and how eating plays a prominent role in our lives, as far as not how long we live, it's how we live. It's not about the length of the life, it's what we're going through while we're living. And if we want to be in pain or we want to be in less pain. That's the main thing.
You got to change the diet because you only get one life as we know it as being here, and you want to preserve the body. There's so many people that die prematurely, and if you do the homework on our ancestors, look how long they lived. We look at one of the greatest ancestors, I believe it was Askia Muhammad. He lived to be almost 99 years old. If you don't know who Askia Muhammad is, you need to find out. One of the greatest African heads of state ever. One of the greatest heads of state ever. Like, they lived lengthy periods of time for a reason.
And our ancestors were living to longer years, 100, 90-something years old. We're transitioning much earlier than that. So when we look at cancer and diabetes and hypertension, that's an emotional disease, that what we call motion and energy and motion. It's an emotional disease. We are eating away our problem.
When it comes to your diet, do your own research. Like, most people have a doctor, and if you don't have a PCP, then I would advise you to try to seek out one. Insurance, everybody have it now because of Obamacare. So I would advise you to see your doctor, ask your doctor to see a nutritionist, get your blood work, get an allergy test, find out how your body generates, find out what energizes you, what gives you, what foods you should eat that'll make you more beneficial, make you critically think, make you better every day, rather than just throwing something in your system, getting sleepy and getting hungry again. Learn what starches is, learn what complex carbs are, learn certain things. It'll be more beneficial for you.
You know what I mean? So right now we're out of harmony. We're cosmic people and we're out of touch. You know what I'm saying? With the universe. The universe is the creators. And we need to get back, man. So the biggest advice is, number one, study your history. And history is so many different facets of history. Study the culture, part of the culture, the food, the diet. Look up Dr. Sebi. Nobody else look up Sebi. Look up Dr. Sebi. S-E-B-I. Look up Dr. Sebi. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And so what happens is that we don't thrive. We have to get to a point where we love ourselves, love each other. We get to a point where we have forgiveness and we move on in our lives and realize that we have a purpose here on earth.
So quit eating meat, baby. Damn a barbecue. And don't eat no tofu either. It's going to tear the line out your reproductive organs.
As long as you know who you are, you know what your purpose is as far as why you are what you are.
The most revolutionary thing you can do is finally tune your diet. You understand? Because nobody's telling you to eat McDonald's. Nobody's forcing you to make them richer and richer every day. You understand? You can actually destroy their business by keeping your money in your pocket. You understand? People wait till somebody gets murdered and they say, Black Lives Matter.
But I ask myself this, and then I turn to the audience, and I turn to you, and I ask you this. If it's anything you want bad enough, you'll make a way to go and get that. If you cherish your life and care about who you are and your health, then you'll make a way, no matter how far it is for you to go and get your food, you'll make a way to get that, rather than coming up with excuses. You'll go 20 blocks away to see a show, you'll go whatever to get some shoes, you'll go do everything else, but to make sure you go that same effort when you want to refuel your body, because you only get one.
Thank you.